Hey friends, welcome back to the show. And today's episode is not going to be much on the dog walking business side of things. It's more going to be a little bit of a story on how we got our rescue shepherd and the story behind that and how we ended up rescuing her and what we've done with her so far and what my plan is going forward and all the things that surround it, like just like the craziness of it and the story behind it. Because people have asked me before, because we actually got her from Qatar. She wasn't local to here. So we'll get her into it. So we got our German Shepherd. She was a rescue from Qatar. She was called Zebedee. Um, Absolutely appropriate name for her. She is bouncy as hell, and we got out. So anyway, we'll go back a little bit more though. We'll go back a little bit more on how we ended up getting into this. So as a kid, I've always had Labradors growing up. We've always had Labradors, and my wife's friend, school friend, at the time, obviously they've grown up together now. She had a litter of Labradors, and we used to take the kids up to go and see these Labradors and let them socialise with the kids. And I just obviously love puppies. So up until like recently, I didn't have the time for the dogs. I was working nights. I used to work full time. We used to do 60-hour weeks. It was unfair to have a dog at that time, and it was weird for me to not have a dog. It was weird, just not being around dogs. But it was unfair to have a dog because we didn't have the time for it. I couldn't give it the walks it needed. I couldn't give it the training it needed. It was just unfair to have one at this time. So I was getting my fill elsewhere. So we had the kids and things like this, and then eventually, like I said, my wife's friend had some Labrador litters, so we went up to see the Labradors, and then they had another litter from different dogs, like quite a few years later, and we went up to see these dogs, and she knew how much I wanted a dog, and my wife's friend knew how much I wanted a dog. I was sat there playing with these little puppy Labradors, and they were pulling on my little pubic beard here, and I was just fussing them. Anyway, what I didn't realise is that there was a couple Labradors left, and so my wife's friend took her to the side and said, "Look, said, there's a couple Labradors left. If Tom wants one, we'll arrange something and sort something out." So I didn't know this up until the drive home, and then she told me, and she says, "We'll just have a sleep on it and a think on it, and see what whether or not it's a good idea." I was in a better position work-wise at this time, and things like this. So I would just like, yeah, well, I just want the dog. So I don't even think I slept very much that night because I was super excited. So she woke up and she was like, what do you think? Well, fuck it, let's get a dog. Let's get a puppy. And it's been a long time since I've trained my own dog and had my own dog. And I was like, well, you know what? When things need to change, I need to be more available for the dog. I need to be more available for the kids. I need to be more available in general. We need to do something else with our time. And I was like, you know what? I want to be a dog walker. I want to take this dog on my walks with me. I want to have time to train it. I want the kids to get involved. And I had all these ideas in my head, right? So let's fast forward. So I've always wanted my own dog, and I've always wanted a Labrador, which I got. So we're going to fast forward a little bit here now to the Zebby situation. Along with this, I have always wanted to rescue a dog. Always wanted to rescue a dog. It's just something that I personally believed I wanted to do. I wanted to be able to take a dog from somewhere where it's not been treated very well, or it's had certain issues or whatever, and take that dog on to me, and then try and give it the best life absolutely possible. And so I'd been looking at rescue dogs here and there, and eventually this German Shepherd popped up, and she was stood there in like the desert, and I was looking at her, and she's like, absolutely gorgeous. Love it. She was skinny, obviously, but she was gorgeous. And I was looking at her, I was like, I want it. And I showed it to my wife, and she was sort of like, I don't know if we can have a second dog. I don't know if we can, do you know what I mean? I don't know if it's time. I don't know if it's right. We've never had a rescue. It's a German Shepherd. And, I've grown up with, some German Shepherds and stuff like that. I've had like so much knowledge on dogs and behaviour stuff, in the past. And I've grown up with dogs, and I'm like, yeah, I know what a dog needs, and I know what German Shepherd needs, and I know the needs are different to a Labradors, and they've got different requirements and stuff like this. But anyway, so what I kept doing, right, is I kept photoshopping the picture of the Zebedee, the Shepherd, and putting it into pictures with our current Labrador, and just sending them to my wife, and just being a dick that way. And eventually, she sort of said like, do you want to see what the process is? Because she was in Qatar when we got her. So I got in touch, and they were sort of saying, you know, this had happened. We'd have to do a check and a video call. We've got the UK rep that sort of get in touch with you and have a look at things, and we'd see what happens. Because to do it over there, it was a volunteer-based thing. There were no government like giving them money. They weren't a registered charity either. They relied on donation and volunteers to make this charity work. So it was all a bit strange. So I got in touch with them, and then they put us in touch with the UK rep, and we had a chat and stuff like that. And they said, because it is a volunteer thing, they need people from over there that are flying back to accompany and chaperone these dogs on the plane to get them back. If they don't have a chaperone, they can't go. They can't get them over there. So I was like, right, fair enough. And we had a chat. And then they said, like, can we do a video thing of, like, you know, where you live and what do you do as a dog? And I'm a dog walker. And they'd be like, oh, that'd be amazing. At least you could give the dog the exercise that it needs. They took a video of the back garden, did some checks. And then they said, like, so basically, we'll get in touch, like, at a later time. Anyway, a few months passed at this point. Maybe-ish. A few months-ish passed. And eventually, they got an email back and a call saying, you know, what do you think? Are you still interested in taking on Zebedee? You know, there's a plane ready. We're getting a plane together. There's enough people to accompany the dogs because they've got to have one handler per thingy. And she's going to go to a foster home for like a month and stay there. And the foster people, I'm still in touch with them now. They're so like super nice people, and they were always asking for pictures and stuff like this. And they absolutely love Zebedee, which it's not easy. It's easy to understand why. Because she's such a gorgeous dog, and she's such a lovely nature. So she went to the foster home, and they were like, you know, if you still want her, we can go ahead and we can go forward. And they said, you know, have a chat with your wife. So I did. We had a chat with the wife. She was like, oh, you know what? Fuck it. Let's do it. Let's just get her here because we want to do it. We've been umming and ahhing for ages. Anyway, so they sent us the link over to obviously sort the payment out and the donations to get her here. And we did that, and then we were just waiting for the flight, and then eventually, like 3 weeks had passed, and they got back in touch with saying, look, the flight's booked, she's going to come over, how are we going to do this? And she comes in at the very bottom end, like down south of England, like, you know, like the UK, she were right down at the bottom where she were going to come in from, and we're like we're northerners, so they said she can stay, she'll be staying with the UK rep, and then we'll go from there. And right, fair enough. So I said, right, we're going to set off. We'll get an Airbnb on the way, and I'll go pick her up first thing in the morning. So I set off. Me and the little kid and my wife and Odin. We didn't. We didn't have the kid. We just had Odin and the wife and me. And we drove down all the way down south, non-stop, couple of pit stops. Got to his Airbnb like super late at night. I think it was like maybe 11, 12 o'clock at night when we got there. And I said I'd pick her up first thing in the morning. So I had a couple hours sleep, woke up, got ready, went to the house, and she was like, are you ready? And I'm like, yeah, I'm ready. And she opened the door, and the shepherd ran out, and she looked at me, and I kid you not, without a shadow of a doubt, she just turned around and sat beside my legs. She just sat there and looked up at me. And it was like this moment where I know it sounds cliche and I know it sounds silly, but we just locked. And I thought, this is going to work out. This is going to be great. And I'm so happy we did this. Anyway, the lady was super happy. She said, obviously, she's quite clearly happy with you. She's definitely a man's dog. And I said, right. So fair enough. So we had a chat and we got sorted. And then I said, right, I'll do a quick walk around the streets just to get used to me, get her used to, you know, being next to me kind of thing. I didn't just want to shove her in a car and off we pop. Anyway, I went and opened the boot of my car because I went to get my coat out of the back of it. She just jumped in it. She jumped in the car and she just sat there and looked at me. I was like, right, fair enough. So we closed it down, and where we staying, they had a bit of a dog park as well. So we took them back and we let the dogs, like, sort of long line meet each other. And they just met, they bounced and they played. And instantly it was just like, I were expecting so many more issues to arise than what have. She had a broken leg in the past. She was thin as a rake when they found her. So we don't really know much of a background or anything like that. Put her in the car, and then we made multiple stops all the way back home, and then obviously we did very gradual introductions to our kids, just because we didn't know anything about her background. We didn't know anything about her temperament or anything like this. We didn't know if she were going to have any triggers or any quirks or anything that she didn't like, a smell, a hat, a coat, a colour, a noise, anything like that she just did not like. I was just on it. I was so paranoid for a long time, like what was actually going to let's set this dog off in some way. But she was super cuddly with the kids. She was super nice. She loved Odin. We crate trained our puppies, and she's been in crates obviously this time, so our dogs were both in crates, and we did exactly the same thing. And this is one thing that I think so many people miss the mark on, is that we instantly set her up in the same routine as our Labrador, like we had her from a puppy. I treat her like we had her from puppy. All the cues were relearned, all the cues were retrained, all the behaviours and the mannerisms and all the things that we expected were all retrained as if she was a puppy. I treat that dog like she was brand new, and I think this is where people miss the mark as well. So Labrador goes in the crate, bedtime biscuits. Everybody went in the crate with hers, bedtime biscuits. I went to bed, and I did exactly the same as what I did when I was potty training the dog, the Labrador. Is I stayed up till like 2 in the morning. I got up at 5:30, took them out. So they only had like a very short window of time where I weren't there with her. And then I went to bed at midnight, and then I got down at 5:30, took them out. And then I went to bed at 11, 5:30, took them out. And that's the same thing I sort of did with Odin as a puppy, so he didn't pee in his crate and he learned to pee outside, is I just increased the time span. And what I think, again, like, I didn't know if she was going to have separation anxiety or anything like that, or if she was going to howl in the night. She actually didn't. Like, she was very settled from the word, like, from pretty much when we got home with her. Which were very unusual. I were expecting quite a few more things to work through, and even to this day now, even though we've had her like nearly 2 years now, I'm always expecting at least one thing to sort of just trigger her or anything. But clearly she's a very confident dog. She's a very confident shepherd. She's not like the wet piss bags that you see where they get where they're mollycoddled and they are reactive and piss scared of everything. She's a very confident shepherd. She's what a shepherd should be. And so we crate trained them both. They were in crates when we went out, which were obviously not often. And the first thing we did, like I say, she fell straight into the same routine as the Labrador, and we extended that time that we were apart. So she actually got used to us being there, but she also got used to us at the same time not being there, because I didn't want to create dependency. I didn't want to create her having to like be with me all the time. I wanted to create some sort of like self-control and her being able to be independent. And that's exactly what we've done, by the way. We have no separation anxiety with any of our dogs. They're absolutely fine. So what we did is, when we first got her, long line. I got a 30-metre long line. We went straight up into the moors, and I let that dog run around like a madhead. I kept the line next to me, and we practiced a bit of recall. And one of the great things that we had is that we've trained our Labrador to that when we are out in the moors and we are doing things, to stop, check in, come back. And we reinforce that behaviour. The Labrador just keeps coming back. And we did this from being a puppy as well, where he would go so far, he'd come back, check in, go far, come back, check in. And I have a video somewhere, it's probably backed up on one of the clouds or the drive somewhere, where she was on a long line, and we eventually let this long line trail, right? And she was off doing something. The Labrador, we were walking away, the Labrador ran over to her and like nudged into her and rotated around to come back to us. And he looked back to see that fact that she was still not coming. He went back again, looped around the back of her, and like almost herded her. And I know it sounds strange because you wouldn't expect a Labrador to do this kind of behaviour, but it was so clear that what he was trying to do was herd her round back to where we were going, like saying, come on, we're going this way, keep up, dog. And we reinforced everything. She was on a long line, recalls, reinforcing checking in and stuff like that, and training her. And we had so many deer and livestock and things around here. We've spent so much time livestock training this dog, you know, being able to, like when we first took her around sheep, she were like on end at lead pulling towards them and stuff like that. None of that anymore. She can walk through a field of sheep off lead, no issues whatsoever, because we've created an environment where everything is consistent. Everything is consistent in her training, the way we do things. I do all of the training. The cues are the same. The environments are the same. The expectations are the same. We have created an environment where she, and my Labrador as well, where they understand exactly what it is that I am asking from them. And it's not so much as like, because I've asked for it, it's more like we have like, again, it might sound strange, we have like this understanding of where they sort of just get it. They understand that I do not want them to chase the dogs. They both got release cues, so they can only go and chase things when I say they can go chase. You know, if there's like, you know, like a rabbit, I'll get to sit, wait patiently, focusing on that rabbit, and I'll go, get it, and she off like a shepherd. I don't want to deprive her of these things. Shepherds love to hunt. They love to chase. They love to chase and grab things and stuff like that. So we didn't ever want to stop her from doing that fully. I mean, catching a rabbit's a long shot because they're bloody fast. But yeah, we didn't want to take that from her. So we've created this environment for her as a rescue where she doesn't actually feel like a rescue to me anymore. It does not cross my mind any day at all that we got her from a different country, because she is just so in sync. Like, there are times when you talk about intelligence in dogs, she's an older female and he's an entire male and he's a lot younger. There is a level of intelligence there that is different, and it is clear. Like, even though we haven't trained her from being a pup, and we've missed a lot of like the impressionable stages of her puppy phases, but we've still got to a point where she is new enough, like damn quicker than he is off the mark. He's pushing boundaries a little bit because he's a little bit of a dickhead, because he's an entire male. He's getting a little bit adolescence. He's a teenager still. He can be a little bit of a turd, but the shepherd is so much quicker. Like, and we rescued her. There's no excuse. Like, no excuse. Like, no dog should ever just be bound to a halter or a long line forever for the rest of their lives and not be able to experience these things. We got her as a shepherd. She needs to be able to off-lead, run, experience, do everything we want. Now, every single day, we do the same things. We get up. I'm up at 5 o'clock. Our dogs are there. They are waiting. We get up. We go out. We go out for a quick pee. We come back. We have a brew. And then we go out on our dog walks. We go up onto the moors. We do an hour or two in the moors. And we'll do training along that. We'll do heel work and stuff like this every single day. And then we've done that. We come back. And the dogs are like clockwork. Like, they know what time it is. They know when breakfast is. They know when like the lunches are. Both of our dogs are raw fed, by the way. So again, we have to sort of focus on as well a little bit of like social, like garden, like, you know, resource garden and stuff like that, because she was a little bit protective over her food. But now the dogs can eat sort of like a couple of meters apart, and they will stand there and wait till the other one's finished before they swap over to see if there's all left in each other's bowls, which there never is, because one's a Labrador and the other one were feral, so she wanted to eat as much as possible. And that was that. So we had them issues there, and it's all been sorted. Like I say, she's now 100% pretty much. It don't feel like she's a rescue at all, because she's just so in sync with what we do. The routine is the same. Like I say, so going back to, like I just said about that, like the environment's the same all the time and the routine is the same all the time. We'll have the food, and then it gets to a certain time, usually around 8:30, 9 o'clock. You know, she's up on my, like, paws are on my thing, like waggling, and she's like, it's time to go out for a pee, and I'm like, come on then. So we get out, we go do our nighttime walk, we come back in. So we don't have crates for our dogs anymore, they're just gated in the kitchen. So when we come back in, the first thing that they do is that they both go around, they sit on the beds, and they sit there and they wait, because every single night what we have done since the day that we have got them is that they get a biscuit to signal. I know this sounds silly, but it's just like a little biscuit, a tiny one. They get a little biscuit which signals that we are going, but we will be coming back. And then I'll go upstairs, I'll go to bed, we'll rinse, repeat every single day. And I think the consistency and the environment that we built, that everything was the same. She knew what to expect. She knew that we were getting up at this time. She knew she was going on a walk every single day. She knew she was going to be able to do this. Like, she's never had a need to try and run off or anything like that. Her recall is like now like near spot on. She did have a thing at the start when we first got her where she would definitely like run up to other people and other dogs, but that's purely because like she's been on the streets for a while and she spent a lot of time in the kennels with the other dogs where they probably just ran up to each other all the time. And so it took us a little bit of time to train that out of her. You know, it took a little bit of long line training, a bit of positive reinforcement training to say, I don't want you to be doing this because we can't be doing that now, but if you do this, you're going to get a reward kind of thing. And it took time, but we got there, and now she doesn't do it. You know, if she looks at a dog, she'll look at me, I'll go, Zebby, sit, and she'll just plonk her ass down, sit there and look at me, and that is that. The dog will pass, we'll carry on. Like, I know people, and I mean, even if I don't know the people themselves, I see people and dogs all the time. Like, we go to places, and dogs are just reactive as shit. They bounce on the end of the lead, and they can never let them off lead, and it's like, what have you done to this dog? Like, how does this happen? You've had this dog since puppy, it's not even a rescue, and this dog has just lost its mind, and it's no recall, it's running up to absolutely everything, it's jumping over walls, it's got no spatial awareness, it's got no socialisation, it's just so poorly mannered. Yet, I've rescued a shepherd, which can be typically headstrong and quite dominant in the characteristics, and I can ask her for a heel and she will tally in behind me and we will walk past other dogs in small ginnels and she won't do anything to them. She'll just heel because I have asked her for a heel. We have this understanding. And her ability, her social etiquette is so well-rounded. Like, she is really good with younger dogs. She's really good with smaller dogs. She's really good with puppies. But she has this thing, like, if a dog comes barreling up to them and they are ill-mannered and they are boisterous and they bark in her face, Zebedee will shut that shit down. She will shut that down so quick. She will posture, she will fan her tail, she will put her hackles up, she will tell that dog that is not acceptable. And if the dog does not stop, right, she will... And this is something that I think people need to learn. I don't think it's something that you can just sort of tell people about, but you've got to watch the social cues of what's happening, and she will tell that dog. Do you know what I mean? She'll give it a quick, like, you obviously can't see me because there's no camera there, but she will give like a quick snap. A quick snap and a quick, like, you know, get away from me kind of thing, and a bit of a snarl. Not once has she ever done anything to any dog that was uncalled for, ever. Like, she never nipped or bit a dog or anything like that. That's not what I'm saying. But she is very socially prepared to tell a dog to stop dicking around. And if that dog doesn't dick around, then she will tell it a little bit further. And she will, like, her social skills are better than majority of the dogs that I see around here. She has the ability to tell a dog, absolutely stop doing what you are doing. I do not want you barking in my face like that, without actually doing anything to the dog. And as soon as it stops, she'll lick its chops and they'll separate the ways and she'll just leave them alone. So, yeah, that's probably going to wrap it up for this episode on our shepherd. I just wanted to go over a little bit. It's just a story that I like to tell. I think it's really nice. Personally, like, that we got her from an absolute different country. We've always wanted to rescue. We ended up with a shepherd, which is typically a risky scenario, you know, taking on a shepherd from a different country that you've never met before, and you're just being left to go, like, left with a shepherd. But she came in, she settled in, she got into the routine, and she's honestly one of the most loving dogs that you'll ever meet. She will cuddle up with anybody, and she's just so skilled in understanding and reading people. She's an absolute pleasure to have, and I don't think, like, our family would be the same without her. But yeah, she's absolutely amazing, and it's just a story that I wanted to share with everybody. So hopefully that you guys can share your stories as well, and let me know if you guys have got rescues and the sort of story behind that, because I'd love to hear it. I really would. So yeah, so that's going to wrap it up for this episode, guys, and I will continue to make some more podcasts, and I will see you guys in the next one.